The Stones of Venice, the 18th Big Finish audio release for Doctor Who, first released in 4 parts across 2 CDs and download on the 19th of March 2001 and written by Paul Magers. I really hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I apologise if I'm not. The 8th Doctor, played by Paul McGann, wants to take his companion, Charlie Pollard, voiced by India Fisher, on a holiday to get relaxed after basically everything going on just nights with the Doctor. So he suggests taking her to Venice, one of the most beautiful cities in Italy, and yeah, I mean, we know that Venice is a beautiful place. Unfortunately, this doesn't prove any less eventful than when the 11th Doctor visited Venice in 1580 and discovered vampires. No. When the Doctor takes Charlie to Venice, Venice is on the brink of collapse. Venice is about to sink into the sea for the final time, and the year is 2294. Why is Venice about to sink? Well, supposedly 100 years ago, a count named Count Orsino, voiced by Michael Sheard, he fell in love with a woman called Estella, and safe to say he wasn't necessarily the best boyfriend, including things like losing her in a card game. Yeah, this guy doesn't sound good. But when Estella finally threw herself into the water and seemingly died, she apparently put a curse on Venice. One, Orsino would have to live for 100 years with the pain of what he's done, and 2, after those 100 years, Venice would sink forever. And while in Venice, they end up encountering a load of other characters. As well as Orsino, the Doctor also meets curator Francis Churchwell, voiced by Nick Scovell, who is mostly anxious throughout the story to protect the vast array of artworks that he has managed to scavenge from Venice. He wants to preserve them for as long as he can, but you know that once Venice sinks, there'll be no way to get the artwork back. They also encounter an older woman named Miss Lavish, voiced by Elaine Eves Cameron, Vincenzo, played by Mark Gatiss, who is the head of the cult of Estella, and Charlie ends up bonding with a kind of mutated human named Pietro, who's a gondolier, voiced by Barnaby Edwards. Now, and a lot goes on in this particular story. I mean, while the Doctor does, as I say, go with Churchwell and does offer him a way to kind of protect the artworks, Charlie ends up going with Pietro, and in doing so, finds herself wrapped up in a plot along with the gondoliers, because in this society, after 100 years, or after several years or so, the gondoliers have effectively become the underclass. They have webbed hands and webbed feet, and they're treated very much like the underclass. While everyone else is out there partying, these people kind of have to work and are looked down upon. So Charlie ends up kind of sympathising with them, and Pietro seemingly takes advantage of this, as he tells Charlie that they want to use some kind of technology or some type of hypnosis in order to bring her into their plan. What they plan to do is have Charlie pretend to be the reincarnated form of Orsino's lover Estella in order to take revenge, so that when they can make sure Venice finally does sink, and thus reclaim it for themselves, because as they've got webbed hand and webbed feet, they can survive easily underwater and reclaim the city for themselves. But I also mentioned the cult of Estella, which is led by a man named Vincenzo, voiced by Mark Gatiss. And what the cult is trying to do, they're effectively trying to save Venice, but they're doing so in very questionable ways. They want to resurrect Estella so that she can sort out her differences with Orsino and thus lift the curse that she had placed upon Venice and ultimately save the city. So the Doctor and Charlie have to deal with a lot. They've got to deal with the rise up of the gondoliers, they've got to deal with a cult, and also try and work out exactly what is going on. Because, big spoiler alert, if you haven't listened to this story, go off and listen to it, then come back. Because it turns out Miss Lavish is Estella. The old woman who they discovered is actually Estella herself. And the thing is, she never actually died. She was actually an alien from the stars. And yes, she did fall in love with Orsino at first and do kind of all of these things. But then when he started going bad, she eventually decided just to leave him and cursed him in order to go teach him a lesson. So the Doctor, Charlie, Churchwell, Pietro, Estella, Vincenzo, everyone is going to have to go sort out their differences in order to stop the curse and save Venice once and for all. So, as I said, there's a lot going on in this story, but while I'll admit I have been looking forward to the Doctor Who story Sword of Orion, I have to admit, now looking back, I can't actually remember that much about it. Whereas this story, I feel, is a lot more memorable. Like, this is the fourth... this is the third story of Paul McGann's Big Finish run overall, and this is the fourth one that I've listened to. And I think one of my favourite, I still think, is The Chimes of Midnight. This one, I think, comfortably comes at the minute in second place. The Stones of Venice, I feel, is a really good story. It's got atmosphere. You can definitely imagine kind of Venice at the times of night, and kind of imagine the gondoliers and what they all look like. And you can paint a very good picture with it. I mean, Venice is one of those settings that is one that's heavily used in Romanticism, and you can kind of picture that, and the story fits very well into it. So, yeah. I would actually give The Stones of Venice a thumbs up. I actually think this is a really good story. I think people should listen to it. So there you go. That's my quick little thoughts on The Stones of Venice. Definitely look out for it on Spotify if you can find it. Anyway, until next time. See ya.